Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. My name is Michele Albera. I currently have the role of Transportation Design Coordinator at ID Torino. And also in my life, I design cars, I design vehicles. But tonight we're going to talk about a different field. We're going to talk about a wider approach to design, to creation, and to the bravery of finding new boundaries and breaking these boundaries. This is the fourth meeting with Modern Mondays, and it's a pleasure to host it. These Modern Mondays events have been designed by ID Network to give you some stories of inspiration. I think that for a designer or for a creative personality, there's nothing more important than having the possibility to hear directly from the voice of the protagonist of these stories of success. Might be a great inspiration. So tonight we're going to talk about a very special thing, which is cosmetics, and especially related to an area of the world which is growing economically and strategically, which is Asia. And we're going to talk with a very special guest, that is Anna Dato. Hello, Anna, it's a pleasure to have you here. I hope you hear me well.
Thank you so much.
I know you just got back from Asia.
Just go back from China.
From China this time. I think you're very used. I think it might be the 100th time you get back from China.
Yeah, and, it's getting tougher and tougher though, going back and forth. So only the brave can do it nowadays.
Yes, only the brave. And we will talk about bravery. We will talk about courage. We will talk about all these things. And before I just said your name, which is very easy, Anna Dato, but you have a very difficult job title, which is Strategic Marketing and Account Development VP Asia for Intercos Group. Okay, so I guess you must have a very huge business card for this.
Yes, hold on. She compressed it.
Okay, anyway, your name is pretty short, so you compensate with that. Anyway, it's a pleasure to have you here. As I said, we come from totally different world. I talk about usually cars and motorcycles, and we talk about cosmetics, but we have some things in common, I guess. Or probably we discovered during the last days talking a little bit between each other that we have probably more than we expected in common.
True.
First of all, I think that one of your greatest, most interesting thing is the curiosity that led you to find a new world and led you to find a profession. Maybe you want to start by that. You want to start by your path that led you to a place which seems very far from us, but not just geographically, but also culturally. That is Asia. We will talk mainly about 3 countries. So maybe you can start by telling us something about that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Michele, for introducing me. Indeed, I have to say, I feel really one of the luckiest person in the world because I had the opportunity to do a job I really love and especially connect so many things I'm passionate about. Because beauty, and I think, you know, Michele, we have beauty in common because beauty is pervasive. I think you put beauty in whatever you do, in whatever you design. And we try to, of course, not only put beauty, but also to create beauty for all consumers around the world. And the idea for me is really that the ability to do this job is to connect things that I've really been passionate about, which is culture, design, fashion, art, and of course, learning about new countries. And it was a little bit magical how I started working in Intercos. It was really, I would say, happening a couple of days where I needed a job and I found this job, but I never considered, I have to say, cosmetics before because I didn't start as being a person very passionate about cosmetics, also because I started 16 years ago and it was before the beauty wave. So as a 20 years old at the time, it was not obvious to look at cosmetics. But then when I found this company in particular, and this discussion is going to be a lot about the company I work for, I really find a vision was so much aligned. The idea that we wanted to create something new, that especially our business was about anticipation, that is actually the topic of today's discussion, that is anticipate the future of beauty. Because indeed, what we do is to create product for other brands. And if we don't anticipate, we are late. We are obsolete, which is the worst possible thing. That's why this challenge, the opportunity to think forward, I think it was something really exciting for me. And especially to the growth that I had in the company, where I started working at the beginning more in the strategic department. And then I had the opportunity, thanks also to my mentor that is the founder of the company, gave me the opportunity to start explore Asia, because I've always been passionate about Asia. I have also the chance to be more dedicated to this market. And I started being dedicated to this market at a moment where not so many people found it interesting. But I always believe, with the size, for instance, of China, and of course, with the culture also of the Asian market for beauty, definitely that would have become the most important market sooner or later. And I think here we are in 2021, where we know that Asia is the center of the world for so many industry and beauty in particular.
Yeah, we saw more or less the same thing happening also in other fields. I would say the same thing happened in the motor world, in the automotive industry. We don't have anymore the strategic point like we used to have for the last 60 years. There were probably Germany, France, Italy, and the US. Then we saw also the new realities coming up after the war. The first one was Japan. But then we had also Korea and China that are growing as a market in an interesting way. India, which is a market that I personally follow a lot, is growing incredibly. It was growing, of course, until 1 year ago in a really unexpected way. So, of course, I think the curiosity, keeping the eyes open, not having... I would say what in Italian we call preconcetto, or like we decided before that we don't want to do something or we don't want to go somewhere. I think it's very important. And you said another thing is to anticipate the future of our job. When you design something, you have to design it not for today, you have to design it for tomorrow. And so Absolutely. You have to imagine exactly what is coming next. And I think that maybe your story can teach us something today. I think you have a very nice presentation too. For us.
Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. I really love to share, I would say, not only my story, but also a little bit about the company that I'm really passionate about. And I think it's a jewel that not so many people know, but I think the story of me and also so my company could definitely be inspiring. So if you don't mind, I can start a little bit sharing about the story, how we get to anticipate the future of beauty. And I will start talking a little bit about Intercos. So here we have 3 big chapters during this presentation. We're going to talk about Intercos. It's the company I work for. That is the leading company in the world of beauty for manufacturing products for all the major brands all around the world, from makeup to skincare to hair and body care. Then it's just a brief introduction for you to understand why we're here today. Then I'm going to share a little bit more about the innovation process, because for us also it's important to talk about how innovation is born, what makes us different. Because of course then, as I take care of marketing, innovation is a part of course, marketing is a part of innovation, but it's not all the whole story. So I think that in all the industries that we have in common, I would say also with Michele, you design, but also there's a technology part. So I think we have to really think cohesively how one part contributes to the other to create something new. And of course, we ended up talking about the trend process. It's something that I even more into it. And I'm going to share about what is my way, but of course, it's one of the way. And I love also to share something about culture. To me, culture is fundamental to create something new, because at the end of the day, what we create is a product of our culture, a product of a culture, not necessarily ours, but definitely we cannot be detached from culture. So I think that this is a very important discussion we love to share today. So we can start at first with a little bit of a video and ask actually to showcase the video to talk about Intercos company. Thank you. Excellent. So that was a little bit the story of our company, what makes us different, what do we do. I think it's something that really pops is that we are really much focused on innovation and hence anticipation, and also we are a global company. We might be started from Italy, but actually we are not necessarily just Italian. We're really global and local everywhere. And something that I like to talk about is more of an innovation process, because this is, for us, is something really make us different. And when our founder, Mr. Dario Ferrari, that created really something new in the industry, creating an innovation-focused company, wanted to say, how do we create innovation? Basically, you can have three different approaches. One, as we are talking about cosmetic, you might look at the market, see what's hot, see what's working, and say, you know what? I like that product. I think it's working. We should do something similar, maybe, you know, improving some feature the consumer don't like. And then we call incremental innovation. Then you have another aspect, which is linked to technology. So maybe you're going to discover we do our own raw material, we do our own active ingredients, we do our own pigments. So we have something that is unique from technological standpoint. So that is an improvement. Maybe you can do a lipstick that lasts 48 hours. That's, you know, that comes from technology. So there might be a part of innovation that is technology driven. But a third way, which is really different, is actually given by our ability to dream, to create something really unique, not because it's just a new technology or not because somebody else did it before, but because we imagine a new idea of beauty. So that's definitely marketing driven. That's linked to our ability to anticipate the trend, but moreover, to anticipate how the consumer desire of beauty will change. So these are the three aspects that we always look at when we create innovation and of course make us stand as apart. And then it's very much connected to something I like to mention. So our ability to dream, our ability to create something new is to me linked to what I like to say, it's vision and power. Vision is the ability to anticipate, to envision the future, to say, I need that kind of product because that kind of product will represent something the future consumer will desire. But then if you don't have the technology standpoint, if you don't have the technology to make it happen, you're powerless. And at the same time, if you maybe have a good technology, but nobody can tell the story, can understand if it's meaningful for consumer, yes, you are power, but you are visionless. So these two things that to me is a marketing innovation, the technical standpoint, they have to go together. Otherwise, you are missing something. So they're very much necessary to, again, create something new for the future of beauty. So also in the marketing way, actually, this is how we do in our marketing team. And my marketing team, we have a team of people dedicated really to understand how the market is going to change. And we are going to see what makes us different. We are local everywhere. So we can really understand in a very, I would say, authentic way, but also fast way, how is going to be the future. And then for that, understanding which kind of products we're going to need. So we are going to actually work alongside all the technical function to make those products happen. And then, of course, because we are not a brand, but we sell to other brands, we need to promote to our clients. So that's why we have a team called strategic marketing. They know the brands that we serve as they're working, as if they're working for those brands. So they're positioning our products, our offering for those brands. So this is basically the way that we work as marketing in Intercos, but also the idea for us is important to connect very well together our value proposition for a marketing standpoint and an innovation-driven standpoint. So when we are talking about the way that we are an innovative company, I think they really comes from four different aspects. So we are saying before, we need to anticipate the future of beauty. We do that with a global vision, as we are global, but also with local expertise, because we are local everywhere. And we are local from marketing standpoint, from innovation standpoint, and R&D standpoint, and also from an operations standpoint, a manufacturing standpoint. We create innovation through not just a new product, new format, but through all the different aspects of what we consider the value chain. So you're going to see later, what does it mean for us? So we are diversified in terms of the product offering, but for each product offering, we are very much specialized. And also more and more, we are connected not only to the idea of manufacturing craft, but also to the idea of advanced technology. So we are, of course, working in AI to even be more forward thinking in a way how we create our innovation. And also the point that to me is fundamental, they also drive to our topic today, that is really linked to Asia. So we are a global company that has marketing offices all around the world, in all the market that counts. So we are, of course, Italian creators. So we are in Milan, but we also are in Paris, we are in London, we are in Berlin, we are in Lausanne, in Europe. We are in America, we are in New York, we are in LA, we are in Sao Paulo, in South America. And in Asia, we are in Shanghai, in Seoul, in Guangzhou, in Tokyo, in Hong Kong. So why we are so spread out? Because we need to be local in every market account. Because these are the way to better understand the consumer, how these consumers are changing, what stimulates them, which is the culture. And of course, also to be authentic in the way that how we create the product, we need to test to look at consumer. Because of course, imagine if I'm creating a foundation. I'm creating a foundation in America, I'm creating a foundation in China. These are very different consumer with very different skin type, with very different idea what quality means. if I create a foundation out of Italy for a Chinese consumer without testing on Chinese consumer, I would probably be wrong because I don't have the right consumer to test the product, or I don't have the right understanding what's quality for them. So that's why it's very important to be authentically connected to all these countries and to all these markets. And also to another point, I'm sorry to say, but globalization to me is that. Globalization means same product sold everywhere in the world. Not even Coca-Cola sells the same product all around the world. The other day, I discovered that Coca-Cola is selling in China a version of the Coke with ginger that you consume hot. Because in China, Coca-Cola is often mixed with ginger. You put in to be boiled, and it's something that is good for your period when you have a flu. So you can see, not even Coca-Cola is the same in the world. So why cosmetics should be? Why we should be the same all around the world? What do you think, Michele?
No, I think it's the same. A few years ago, especially in the 80s, we started thinking about a thing called world car. We started designing a car that could go well on every market. Well, it was a failure. Everybody who tried to do that had a terrible, terrible result. And right now we are designing, even, for example, I would say something which is more common to my field, I would say, even Jeep has a studio in Torino, and the studio in Torino of Jeep is designing Jeep's cars for Europe, which are different from the ones designed in the US. Even an American brand owned by, I would say right now it's an Italian, American, French big group, decided to open another studio to design a car that fits better the market, even if, for example, Jeep is very iconic, it's very related to the first Jeep Willys. So I think that every sort of creative job has to find attention to the target, because if we lose the target, we design for ourselves. And sometimes the blindness of the designer that design for, I don't know, a small range of audience, which is usually the people around you, is probably what is killing your design, what is killing your vision of your product. And also later will kill the success of the product, because you cannot start thinking of placing the same object in every country, in every place. You made a perfect example, even Coca-Cola, even McDonald's is different. I usually go to India, and when you go to India, you have two menus. One is at McDonald's, and one is completely vegetarian, because half of the people and even more is vegetarian for religious reasons. Sorry, and the other half is quite closer to ours, but with a lot of spices more. So, of course,
because at the end, we were saying every product is a product of a culture. So somehow McDonald's reflects the Indian culture. And then when you go to, I give you an example, you say about hamburger. So a few days ago, I was in Shanghai, and you might be familiar with Shake Shack, which is a very, iconic brand for hamburger from New York. And then I noticed that in the Shanghainese version of Shake Shack, there was a whole topic of guoqiao. Guoqiao, it is now this idea of China pride. And so at the entrance, there was this picture of a lady dressed with a qipao, which is the traditional Chinese clothing, that instead of bottle, she had little hamburger. And they were offering a drink made with grapes that now is very trending. This cheese milk drink is very trending in China. So it's something that an image, an aesthetic, flavors you will never find in New York. But especially non-New York-based person would never understand that being sit in New York. And with a miss being just an American city in New York, with a miss the opportunity to interpret their American product right for the Chinese market. Because now we were saying it's all about localization. It's all about rightly interpreting the culture for the market in a way that is speaking to each other culture. So it's really a mix because it's not that now every country is closed. They want to explore, especially the Gen Z. They want to explore, but they want the dialogue to be customized to them. I think this is really the point.
Yeah, you have to study and respect the audience and the target. That is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And I think respect is really the key word. And respect starting from listening to understanding. So as well, I take care of Asia, but you can see very well I'm not Asian. I'm actually Italian and half Brazilian. So maybe more on that side of the world. But I really try to study, to educate myself. I have a team that is local everywhere that is actually filling my gaps. But openness, open ears, curiosity, there's a very, very, very fundamental topics. So to continue our discussion and talking about how it's important to be local, we were saying before, it's important to be local everywhere. It's important to, adjust somehow the product to local taste, to local characteristics. This is the reason why, as Intercos, we have actually lab also localized in China, in Korea. Korea now is booming, not just now, but since a few years, since we had our lab. And why is booming? One part because K-beauty now is trending, but also because in Korea, there is a sense of creativity and taste that is very important for all the Asian markets. So nowadays, even international brands, they want to interpret right the Chinese market, and they want a product for the Chinese market. Most likely, maybe they're going to made in Korea with Korean vendor to create some product that is speaking authentically to their target consumer. So there is an opening from all the brands around the world, especially the luxury brands, to really look more into the Asian market, because reality is now the market for beauty, it's really Asia driven, it's really Chinese driven. I've been talking a lot with a lot of brands that are telling me, our sales, sometimes 80% is made in Asia. So you can imagine how it's important to be really focused on that. But coming back to Intercos, it's also for us very important to differentiate our innovation offering from also what you can find from other competitors. That's why for us, we create not only format, but also raw materials, active ingredients, and of course, the technologies, even machine, for creating something that is compelling and unique at the same time. And also, something that is important for us to say is that we not only are very much specialized in different technologies in beauty, but we also have the opportunity to create connections across these technologies. So it's a little bit technical, I know, but we do skincare, we do hair and body product, we do foundation, do mascara, and you can see these products are very different, but sometimes they have a base technology that we call emulsion that is the same, so can be created synergies. We do lipstick, we do pencil, we do nail polish, we do powder. So we do so many different technologies, but somehow we find a way to hybridize and create something new. And I think it is a term of the discussion today that is about innovation. I think it's very important, again, to think how we can hybridize and connect two things that apparently they don't speak to each other, but maybe they have a conjunction point and they can create something new, something different. Maybe we can find a different way to apply a lipstick, and maybe it's a powder. Maybe we can make a foundation that is actually colorless. So these are all ideas that we can think about, really because we have the opportunity to hybridize and synergize different technologies. And of course, for us in terms of innovation, it's very important to say that we made the difference at every step of the value chain, because every step you can add value. So we were saying before, innovation can come from a technology standpoint, and that's why we can differentiate from raw materials, from actives, from pigment, from formula approach, but it also comes from a marketing standpoint, a marketing concept. So it's very important, again, as marketers, that we think differently, understanding very well what tickles our consumer. We can change in terms of design because special effect the appearance of a product. And of course, also manufacturing is important. Also packaging, the case, the way we apply, the way the product looks like is also very important. That's very design driven. So that's very much linked to yet. So I think you can see in how many steps you can add innovation. And also with sustainability, because nowadays that's a really big push to all the industry. We have to rethink the same products that we know very well in a very sustainable way. It doesn't mean only, okay, we can use cleaner raw materials, but maybe we can redesign the whole concept to use less plastic. And maybe instead of using plastic, we use wood. but we also we use products that are refillable, but we make the packaging so desirable that for consumer they don't want to throw it away, because the idea of consumerism also driven us to the idea, yes, we know a new product, we need a new product, but also because maybe the old product, they were looking ugly and cheap as much as you consume, so that's why you wanted to change. What if we can redesign with quality? So, these are all open questions that push us to rethink the way how we are doing beauty today, and to do it continuously. And also, it's very important to connect this with technologies, which are not only product technologies, but also artificial technologies. And that's why today it's very important how we infuse the point of view, the big data. They are not only coming from external sources. So you can imagine, look at what's happening through the Google search, look what's happening into the Tmall, which is Tmall is Alibaba. So it's a big marketplace in China. So this data, they are available to everybody, but also we hybridize with information that is our own. As I told you, we are working with all the biggest brands. That means that we are making the product today that maybe going to be on counter in 2023, 2024. And we know that for all the brands around the world. So can you imagine how powerful is this information with the sake of anticipating the future? So normally when you look at trend scouting, of course, you're going to say, you look at the market, you look at the trends, you look at the art, but these are information that are at the disposal of everybody. But what we do differently is that we mix with something that only us we know. And actually it's very practical to say that if we know that these and these and these brands are launching a long-lasting lipstick because they're launching with us. So yes, I can tell you in 2023, the trend is long-lasting lipstick. Today, because I'm already making the calendar for 2023. So you can see in the way that how we anticipate, it's really a connection of elements that you need to use, I would say, a little bit of ingenious to actually create a system that can give you a very specific answer. And also we use artificial intelligence not only for the marketing side, but also from the technical side, because can you imagine, we are almost a 50 years company. Can you imagine how many information we'll be generating through all these 50 years? So from our trials and errors, even from our mistake, there's a lot that we can learn in the way how we can avoid mistakes in the future. So that's why it's important now to build this systematic approach in the way how really are happening to make technology at work for us to really anticipate the result of our formulation. And this is a little bit of number that just give you an idea that Intercos is the company that dedicates the most resources, especially in the field of innovation in makeup, like no other company, not even the big multinational. This is how much devotion we have for innovation, how much research, but I think it's a very important. We are very proud to say we are an Italian created company. So sometimes when you think about the big industries in Italy, you think maybe about automotive, as you think about fashion, you think about food, but you don't think about cosmetics. And actually, cosmetics is something that we should really be proud of, because there's no better cosmetics than Italian one. I think if you look at the products that you use, sometimes you might see so often in so many luxury brands made in Italy. Now you know. And then we go into the trend process. So trend process also continuous storytelling, how we do anticipate the future of beauty. And as I explained you a little bit before, we have a process internally. There is a flow, because it's actually an activity that we do continuously. That for us, it goes in the direction to understand in deep dive first how is changing the desire of beauty for consumer. So we're going to see what connects to that. So what generates the big market trends. And then from the big consumer changes, then we are going more in detail how that influence beauty. So we are thinking more about which are going to be the beauty trend. And then, of course, as Intercos, we are very known in the industry to create trends, anticipating what is going to be the world of beauty 2 years ahead. So this is actually part of our culture. But you can see we are not just looking at the magical sphere, and say, this is going to be the future of beauty. We have a very systematic approach, and that makes a very reliable our trend forecasting. And when we are thinking about first before our trends, but first how we choose a product, I like to say, are we Pareto efficient in the way that we pick a product? I think when we talk about a car, there is definitely a lot of rational thinking, behind. Is it efficient? Does it consume well? Or is it fast enough? Is it comfortable? But then, of course, it kicks the emotional side. And I think that, especially when we talk about beauty, it's not that we are choosing the best value for money for a lipstick. We are really looking for something that generates for us an emotion. Because again, our products and the way we consume, they are a product of our culture. We choose a color, we choose a shape, we choose a sweater, really because it speaks to us. And it speaks to us because we're immersed in a certain culture. I'll give you an example. In China, everybody now loves warm colors. Even if you consider that looking at the aromachromia rules, they are called tones. And then you see, well, why everybody's choosing this color is not necessarily looking well on them? Because, of course, it's the influence, it's the culture, it's the heritage, is yellow is the color of the emperor, red is the color of fortune. So sometimes the choice is not even efficient, but is pushed really by our emotional surrounding. And when we talk about what does influence then trends, so many interesting, so many different things. And that tells you also that if you want to be in a business that is linked to fashion, is linked to design, is linked to anticipation, you really need to be with open eyes and ears and senses, because it's not just one thing, it's so many things. That's why culture is so important. From our business, it's from art to science, from food to design, it's technology, it's entertainment, it's the influencer, it's the number of the retail, it's really the street. So there are so many things. It's really a constellation. It's really a galaxy of interest that you really need to pay attention to understand and really to anticipate. There's no one golden rule, but I would say if there is, just be curious. that would be. And that's why to me, there are 5 C's of a trend. So I would say first, culture. I like this word. I think it's really compelling. Culture is very important. You need to be cultured somehow also to do this job, because then when you have a strong cultural background, then you read the reality in a different way. And I give you an example for me. To me in Asia, it's so hard because maybe I have a very good Western cultural background, but not necessarily Eastern. So when you look at this, sometimes you might happen to see a lot of this painting in China with mountain and water, and then you see, but you don't really get, because nobody told you that it's a shui. So it's a historical. There's a concept of the flow. There's a concept of harmony. So when you have this element, then it really speaks to maybe a Chinese person who grew up with this culture, but not necessarily to us, because we didn't grow up with the same culture. So that's why it's very important to interpret the culture of the people that you're looking at, because there are elements, they are recurring. Even pop culture is very important. Curiosity is key. Current now, it's so even important if you think at the speed of the changing things, especially in China. If you're not Chinese, you cannot stay current, because they see the social media, the language is so, I would say, closed and even so fast that it's really difficult to stay up to culture. Constancy, because if you know, it's like if you go out from this ride, then you lose the turn. So it's very important to be constantly engaged, and definitely complexity, because you say before, it's so multi-layered. It's really complicated somehow. That's why it's important to keep engaged, keep learning. And also, I think what is very important is the network. Learn from people that know well that spot. Learn from the others. And that is learning, but also give back the value, so you can exchange, because from exchange is also building, I would say, a lot of value, a lot of knowledge, and also a lot of change. And again, culture, you understand now, this is my favorite word. Culture is fundamental. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples now. So if you think about with brands that are also very hot, no? We're going to talk about one very hot brand. The way that the campaign are built, the way the storytelling is built. I like layering. I say here certification is really layering of storytelling because it's messages. They speaks to specific culture, to specific target. There's a certain culture in common. So it's important. And I learned actually this I remember from high school when we were reading I Promessi Sposi from Manzoni. You know, there's a different way to unlock a story depending on how many elements you know. Also, Divine Comedy is the same. There are hints depending on how much you know about the story. So I think this is really that. I love this work from Alessandro Michele because also cultural appropriation is a hot topic today. I think it's difficult to make it right. But the key point when you are playing with elements with different culture and not yours is respect. Respect is key to really get connected to a different culture, to treat this element for a different culture with respect that deserve, to put everybody at the same level, not that because it's Western is top and because it's another culture is down. It's really, you know, treat all culture with respect, but also borrow element, look at element, connect with other element. And there's sometimes a stealing, but this stealing is to actually build something new. So I agree, Alessandro Michele, culture is something fluid. And actually, this is an important point if you look what's happening in China today. Before I use this word is Guo Chao. Guo Chao is about China pride. But I wanted to teach you another word, Hanfu. Hanfu is Chinese clothing. What's happening today? That a lot of Gen Z, they're going to the street dressed like they have a robe from Ming Dynasty, Tang Dynasty. I'm talking about robe like 400, 500 years ago in terms of style. It's like for us, we go out and we have a Rococo bustier. So it's a remix of culture. And they're wearing maybe these Ming Dynasty robe, but they have like the Yeezy sneakers. So it's not really playing the costume, but creating your own identity. Because again, my identity is a product of my culture. I'm proud to be what I am. For a Gen Z in China, they're proud to be Chinese. They like to endorse the culture. So there's no limit. There's no the idea of age limit, no idea of a century limit. You can create your new Renaissance today. So I want to actually give you an example when I talk about how we are borrowing elements in culture from different time. Maybe we can start from the video and I ask you actually, when you see the first part of the video, think about what reminds you of. So we can start with the video of Gucci. I always like to show this video because when I showed the beginning, the first part of the Gucci, and I said, tell me, what does it remind you of something? And say, no, I like they're running, they're fast, active. But to me, because I remember the movie Christian F, the guys from the Berlin Zoo, then immediately, tack, I said, but this video, I saw it already. That's part of this movie. And that's why, because maybe Alessandro, Michele, and I same the same taste for movies. But you can see that connects to you. So to certain consumers, they don't have this part of the history. They see the video as it is. They see the sense of freedom. They enjoy because of that, because somebody is falling and it's okay. It's this imperfect perfection. But for me, that's unlocking another level, because it really speaks to something that is part of my culture. So the idea of brands, they are creating this emotional connection because they are connected to your culture. That brings the brand to another level. They are not just selling me a product, they are selling me a culture I belong to. And that's why this is a love brand. So to me, that's important to say. You can see is really a layering of storytelling. And that speaks to me because I'm the same culture. Maybe, of course, it doesn't speak to another consumer, especially a Chinese consumer that might have never seen this movie. And then we can see actually the second video, this time with Stephen Klein. I want to see if you can reconnect which kind of products they are selling. Okay, maybe we can go back to my presentation for you to see what are we selling. We are selling cosmetics, and I think it's somehow a little bit difficult to it's a little bit difficult to understand, the meaning of a brand. But to me, that I really love beauty. I really love Stephen Klein. I think it was super interesting and definitely elevating, because they are not just selling me a lipstick, they're really selling a product of my culture, the culture I belong, and the connection of art that I really, really love. So that was a little bit of my presentation. I hope you got inspired, you get some element for finding your own way how to anticipate the future. I hope you stay open and curious, as you should be, because maybe you choose the right university, because of course, it's all about creativity, and definitely I'm sure they feed you with the idea that that's definitely a necessity. Michele, do we have questions?
Yes. No, first of all, I would like to thank you for the presentation before the questions. And I would like to underline a couple of things that were said, or actually that you said. I liked a lot one fact that emerges in the end, that every product has to tell a story. And that is, to me, is the most important thing. When I tell the students to design according to something, they say that that product, no matter what it is, it can be a lamp, it can be a chair, it can be an automobile, it has to tell a story. And especially when we talk about beauty also, there is another thing that you said, it has to make you fall in love at first sight. Like I said, probably, I assume you have some chairs, an armchair at home. I think that maybe they're comfortable, but the first thing before trying them, when you saw them in a shop, well, you actually fell in love with the shape, with the color, with the trimming, with the style, with the elegance, maybe of something that reminded you of. like the commercials we saw. So I think that the storytelling, and even cosmetics have to tell a story, as much as a car, as much as a pen, as much as a chair, as much as everything which is surrounding us, and we have to design, and we have to design into the future. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to take inspiration or connections to the past, like you just show us in the beautiful video that we saw with the guys from the Berlin Zoo. And I think, yeah, right now, I think where a lot of other inspirations may have come to the people at home. So I think we have time for some questions. I guess some are arriving. I don't know if I can. Okay, this is not from Noemi. What are the main differences on market and marketing between Asia and the Western countries? I think it's perfect.
We did like a 1 week session, I would say, for this question. But I would say there is so much difference sometimes with the idea of sense of beauty. Also, Asia. Hey guys, Asia is huge. There are so many differences between China, Korea, Japan, etc. Something I like to say, there is really a moment of transformation now, especially in that area. That if you look at Japan is definitely a country with a very long history, long tradition, but also very somehow fixed paradigm of what beauty is. And sometimes something that really gets me out of my mind when I see the advertisement for the beauty brand is that they're using Russian blonde models to advertise products for Japanese girls. Whichever Japanese girl will look like a Russian blonde girl? Nobody. But that tells you that somehow they're building an ideal of beauty which is unreachable. And today is totally disconnected with what is the change is happening to the rest of the world. When I look at China, now you know who's actually endorsing beauty the best? Boys. Because they are creating actually the idea that this is a boy I like to comfort, but also something, and this is a very important topic because today is the day against discrimination to homophobia, to transphobia, and biphobia. So they're opening also an imagination. There's no idea that you have to be a macho man. You can be actually delicate, you can be colorful, you can be representing your own idea of beauty, and that's perfectly okay, that's perfectly acceptable. Actually, that is great. So you can see how markets are traveling at different speed in Asia. Now we have the Japanese that reaching for an idea they will never get, and now the Chinese are actually open for new boundaries, actually breaking the boundaries in beauty. I hope I reply to Noemi's question.
Yes. Also, I think we could discuss about the difference between the Asian and maybe the Chinese marketing area 5 years ago and now, because it's already because the people
at the speed of light.
I also, like, work a couple of times with the Chinese brands in China. I think that there was a huge difference in between 5 years ago and now. The vision is totally different, and the growth has been amazing. So I think that we will see what's coming in the next 5 years, and maybe also which other countries are becoming the next, I would say, mecca of some industries. We saw, for example, we named them, some of them. We named, of course, Korea, which had a very huge growth. But who knows, India was growing, and maybe the next could be North Africa, because the resources are there. People were smiling when we talked about the growth of, for example, the Emirates 40 years ago. People were smiling at China. People were smiling at India. Right now, they're smiling at us. So we'll see what happens. Maybe North Africa, since they have a lot of resources, it can be the next growing economy, and maybe there can be a new industry there. Who knows? We have to stay open and reach, and yes, being completely open-minded about it.
Yeah, my hint personally is look at the size of a country, because they will get there sooner or later. If you think at, of course, China, they're unbeatable now, because before everybody was looking at the US because, of course, US 300 million people and with a good level, of course, of lifestyle, so they can consume. But then wait for the Chinese to reach the same level of America. And now they are 1.4 billion of people, so different scale. And let's not forget, actually, in Asia, you have also different countries. Think about Indonesia, thinking about Vietnam, think about Thailand. They are not small. And again, they will get there. So look at the size and just think about a time frame. But the change will definitely happen.
And maybe we have other questions from the audience. Yeah, Q&A. Sarah, which is
My
the
secret
secret ingredient to your success in these years?
Oh God, working very hard, always working. No, I would say it's difficult to say success. I don't think it's necessarily success or landed somewhere. But I think that for every job, passion is required to make you do the extra mile. So I'm very lucky. I do a job I'm very passionate about, so that brings me to do a lot of extra miles. But this is what I can. I hope you all can get something that you're very passionate about, that make you work tirelessly and make you, willing to grow more and to give more. And definitely, when you put a lot of energy, result will come.
Yeah. So follow your passion in the end. And maybe if you still have to decide what to study, take a path which is allowing you to follow your passion more than the money. Probably the money will come. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you do this greatly.
It's like, deciding what is the ending goal, because ending goal cannot just be the money, because money can come in different ways. But it's really think about how you can reach your ikigai, as a Japanese would say. Find something that you're motivated, that you can get paid for, that the world need, and that you can be good at. So if you can find all those for three, then you reach your ikigai.
Okay. Is there another one? Another question, maybe? Yeah, Federico. How to know if the path you are on is right for you? Oh, this is complicated. This is very complicated.
I think, again, it's all about, are you happy about it? Are you passionate about it? Can you feel that you can get better than the other with that? So if all those questions are somehow ticking some point, then maybe yes. But without knowing your story, it's difficult to say. But I always say, take a bet on you, take a chance on you, and trust your gut feeling.
Yes, and maybe at the beginning, I think, also you talk about myself, things might be scary at the beginning. Maybe at the beginning you don't feel it's yours, but if you feel there is something you can give, maybe that can be your road, that can be your path. So maybe things will come, who knows? Or maybe at one point you will decide. I decided to study laws at the beginning. I thought
but I will say, you can see, then you follow your passion for your instinct. It's never too late. I think sometimes people tend to feel old already at 25, 30. We have such a long life ahead of us. I think it's never too late to follow your passion.
Okay, maybe I think we had some interesting questions and we are running out of time. I don't know if maybe you wanted to add something, or maybe just a little appeal to say goodbye, or a little bit of advice to the people who followed us today, also with a lot of attention, with a lot of nice questions. And representing IED, I would like to thank you for your explanation, for your speech, for your story, for your experience. And I think that it's always inspiring, and I think that a lot of things get birthed actually from hybridization, from the meeting, from the melting of cultures. And I think that maybe even personally today, after I met you and I heard your story, I will come home, or I stay at home, with something more to reflect about. So I think that maybe even if I don't work in your field, I think that there is always something to learn, and I think that this was a very nice meeting. So maybe I give you the last opportunity to say something to the audience, maybe something that can inspire them.
Thank you. I really thank you. I hope you felt energized by my speech. I think, in life, it's very important to thank the people that give you the chance to learn something, because it's not often that you can find somebody that has the willingness to teach you, the time it takes time to teach somebody something else. So I think it's very important to surround yourself with people that you can learn every day, because I think is always an exchange. We can give something, you can share something, but I think it's the most where we can learn from the others. So I think it's very important, again, to stay curious, to stay open, but especially to surround yourself by a community of people that always teach you something new. And at the end of the day, you will come up transformed. So I really thank you all for the time, for the attention, for the space they give me, because it was really a fantastic opportunity for me to share my story, and especially my company story that is far more interesting than myself. But I always appreciate the exchange. So I'm active on Instagram and social media. So if you want to keep exchanging, just write me. I'm very happy to connect.
Okay, thanks again, and thanks everybody for following, and see you next time, and good night everybody, good luck.
Thank you.